Welcome back to the channel. This is the Action Figure Grader, and I have some recent loose graded as well as mint on card vintage Star Wars pickups I wanted to show you that I added to my collection over, I'd say, the last 3 or 4 months. One of them came back a while ago, and I just forgot to show it on the channel. I just realized that, and it's related to Zuckuss, or Forlom if you feel like talking dirty to me. Here are 2 examples already in my collection. The first one is a first generation Polish bootleg for Zuckuss, and this is a really nice example that I picked up from my buddy Andrew. It's graded CAS 75, and you can see there it's an articulated first gen with the first gen green weapon. Most of those weapons are black, and this one had the very colorful kind of green. And this one, I would call it like a, it's hard to show the example, or to show the difference in color, but this one I would call like a metallic blue, I guess. I don't know. It's hard to compare it, but I'll show you the next one that I picked up from CAS that arrived back. So this, I think, is the metallic blue, and then this is the metallic green. And so you can kind of see it's a slight color difference. Hopefully that's coming through. This is like more like a steel blue, and this is like the mintish kind of green color. And so this one I picked up from a gentleman named Aaron, I believe, and this is a book photo sample. So this one was featured in the Polish bootleg guidebook by Jacob Brzezinski, and I sent the page to, in like a PDF format to CAS, and I said, hey, could you label this as a book photo sample? And they said, sure, no problem. So they looked at kind of the defects on the figure versus the one in the book and verified that it is indeed the exact same figure featured in the book. So this one actually came back, I think, towards the end of December, maybe beginning of January, and I just forgot to show it on the channel. But very cool to have a second example. I have a 3rd generation articulated as well as 2 unarticulated 1980s bootlegs. So I've got, let's see, I've got 5 different Polish bootlegs for Zuckuss. I didn't pull them down, but I just wanted to at least show this one that just got back. And so you can see there on the label, Far, Far Away Book Photo Sample, 1st generation articulated Zuckuss, and this one also came back with a 75. So very cool to have another photo sample. If you guys remember, I've got a book photo sample Han Solo unarticulated Polish bootleg. So I've got 2 now from the Polish guidebook by Jacob Brzezinski, and then I also, of course, have probably the best figure in my collection, which is the Toxic Limbs Bosk, which was featured in Javier Ruy Lopez's guidebook on the Spanish figures. So I guess altogether, between licensed and bootleg figures, I've got 3 different photo samples used in different guidebooks, which is pretty incredible to think about. But that one is a really nice example. Now, this is one I already had in my collection. This is the No COO Zuckuss, and this one I picked up, I believe, from Chris W. over at Rogue 5 Toys. This one is graded 85 plus by CAS, and then he had listed on his Facebook page another Zuckuss that, I only had this one loose graded, other than my Lily Letty, which is on, kind of displayed in front of the card back. So this one got listed. This is just a standard Hong Kong for the Zuckuss figures, Circle on Knees and Heels, AFA 85. So I did claim it on Chris's Facebook page, and so that was a nice pickup there. It was not very expensive, very fair price from Chris. And as part of that, I was like, well, if I'm getting one, I might as well grab another one. And this is the other one I did grab that Chris had listed on Rogue 5 Toys. And this is a Hong Kong with the smile. So you can see there it's got the eyes and the teeth with the white paint. And so this is actually an archival case AFA 85 with teeth, Lando Calrissian, just a standard Hong Kong 85. And if you'll remember, Blacked Out Ewoks sent me this one as a gift. So I've got both of the different Hong Kong variations now. This one is a Hong Kong without the teeth, paint apps or the eyes. So Hong Kong UKG 85% and the AFA 85 from Chris. So another variation there. So that makes, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 9 different loose graded Landos. What is wrong with me? What am I doing? Why do I have 9 loose graded variants for Lando? It does seem a little excessive, I'll say that, but this is what we do. So I've got a lot of Landos now. And I did pick up a loose ungraded Han Hoth that was on eBay. And so this is one I picked up on Facebook Deal or No Deal group. This is the dark brown pants or dark tan pants. I don't know how you want to call it. I call it the dark brown pants. UKG labels it dark pants Hong Kong. This was a UKG 85%. And I saw it get listed on eBay, this one. And I'm not sure how they're going to label this one. I think this is the dark brown pants. This one I would call the dark tan pants. And it also does have the skinny thumb. It also is a Hong Kong variation, but it's got a much paler face. You can see how pale the face is versus this Hong Kong that I picked up on Facebook. So this is actually, you know, on the camera, it actually looks more peach than it does in hand. Like just looking at it in my hand, it looks very deathly pale. But this is just another variation, I guess. I don't know what you want to call it. But this one will probably grade about an 80 because it's got a scuff right there or a paint overspray of some sort. And yeah, that looks like paint overspray to me. Otherwise, these limbs are super, super tight. I mean, they do not move at all. And it was like 20 bucks, 25 bucks, somewhere in there. I can't remember. I think maybe with shipping and everything, it was like 30 bucks. So I'll send that into CAS probably at some, or AFA at some point, and it'll probably get about an 80. But anyway, I just thought it was another variation. I didn't have any other Hong Kong loose graded. I have a no COO, and then I have the chocolate legs Spanish Puck that is graded UKG 80%. So this is my fourth and fifth. Let's see. I'm looking at them right now. I've got 2 others up there, and then I've got 2 other Polish bootlegs. So, you know, it's just, what am I doing? I mean, I've got way too many variants for all of these different characters, but Han Hoth was one I wanted to focus on. Han Hoth and the first 12 Han were 2 that I wanted to focus on this year. So, and I do have the weapon for this one. I didn't pull it out, but pretty cool to get a couple of other, you know, another variation for Han Hoth. And I did pull down some other Hans that I wanted to show you guys. So this is the Spanish Puck Han Hoth, and that one is graded, Han Solo. This is graded UKG 80%, and then I've got this one, which is the large head Han graded CAS 85. I picked this one up ungraded, and it still got the 85. I picked that one up for like 40 bucks on Facebook group, so that was a nice pickup there. And then here is the Spanish PvP for Han Solo first 12. And this one is graded UKG 85%. But as you guys remember, I told you at the beginning of this year that I was hoping to pick up a small head Han. And this is the one I grabbed in the certified link kind of stealth auction. I just happened upon it the day before the auction was ending. I was like, wow, these are some pretty nice high grade, loose graded, new case style AFA examples. So here is that AFA 85 small head molded legs Hong Kong COO. There is a painted legs as well. That one's tough to find. I would love to grab that one next, but we'll see if that happens. So that is yet another Han Solo. And finally, I did pick up a small head Han, and pretty cool to get that one. So again, as part of that certified link lot, I did grab 2 others while I was at it. The Han was really the main one I wanted, but this one was at auction. I was like, well, if it stays low enough, I'll slap in a bid for it, and it did. It did. So I was very happy to grab this molded face Luke Jedi. That's always a very desirable character or variant to get for Luke Jedi. So you can see there, Luke Jedi, molded face, Taiwan, AFA 85. Now, several of you asked me, is this the sewn cape or the snap cape? And it looks like it's the sewn cape. I don't see any snap on this one when I was looking at it up close. It's hard to tell because it's kind of folded weird, but just looking at it, it does not look like the snap cape. Although this molded face Taiwan Luke Jedi does come with either the snap or the sewn cape based on the research I found online. So this is the easier version to find for the molded face, the sewn cape. The snap cape is maybe a little bit more desirable. Got to pay a little bit more for it. But this is now my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th Luke Jedi. So I'm totaling these figures up, not to brag, okay? I'm totaling these figures up that I have for these different characters to make fun of myself, because no person in their right mind needs 7 different loose graded figures for any of these. But apparently, just over the years, they start to add up. But you know, it's not a bragging thing. Believe me, it's literally just making fun of myself and verbalizing how idiotic it is to grab these many variations. So the last one I picked up in the certified link auction is another IG-88, and I now have 7 or 8 different IG-88s. I didn't look before I started the video, but this is one I had in my own collection that I picked up ungraded on eBay. And this is the more common of the silver Hong Kong COOs for IG-88. And this one I paid like 25 bucks for. Silver, hollow eyes, silver body, Hong Kong. And it got a 90 with CAS. So that was kind of a great pickup there. But as you can see, this one has, if I can zoom it in nicely here, right here, you can see the eyes are hollowed out, and that's the most common. That's the usual format for the Hong Kong COO for IG-88. I knew there was one without hollow eyes, but I just could not find it. I saw one on eBay, but I just thought the price was a little high, and so this one showed up on certified link, and it's an AFA 85. And I wanted to show that one right now. So you can see there, it's got the standard kind of, you know, non-hollowed eyes, which is more common for the gray body, which I also do have. The gray body Hong Kong, to my knowledge, does not have any version with hollowed eyes. They're all like this. They're all like this with kind of just the standard straight non-hollow version. So, but anyway, this is the silver Hong Kong IG-88. So glad to grab that one. So I've got the silver non-hollowed eyes, the silvered hollowed eyes Hong Kong. I've got the Spanish POC, the Spanish PBP, the silver no COO, and the gray body Hong Kong. And then I also do have a Polish bootleg graded CAS 85. So is that enough IG-88s? My gut says that's probably enough. I do know that there is one other Spanish PBP variant that I do not have, but good luck finding it. It never shows up. There's the one I have is the Spanish PBP with the smooth COO on the back. So on the back here, where it says 1982 Hong Kong, it's smoothed out, and that is one version of the Spanish figure. But there is another one that actually has a full scar where the Hong Kong is. It's a full deep scar for the Spanish PBP version of IG-88. So there's 2 different Spanish PBP versions of IG-88. And I think there are several versions of the Spanish POC as well. The blood red eyes, which I have, is the most common. There is also like a yellow eye and an orange eye, Spanish POC, I believe. I do know that there's a yellow eye. I've seen that one a few times. I don't know if that's just a degraded red or not. But anyway, so there's 2 or 3 other variations for IG-88 that I don't have. I don't know if I'm going to go down that rabbit hole and try to get the Spanish scarred COO, unless maybe one shows up on like in a UKG grade from one of the usual sellers, usual suspects on eBay in an auction. But anyway, that is all the loose graded vintage figures I picked up here recently. Let me finish this video off now with 2 mint on cards I grabbed from AFA/CIB. So I did pick up another tri-logo for Dengar. Here was the one that was already in my collection. This is just the standard Hong Kong COO, for the Palatoy that was used on the Palatoy Dengar. And, I picked this one up ungraded from Dark Side Alliance, I believe, on Facebook. And I knew it wasn't perfect. I thought it was probably going to get about a 75, mainly because of the blister. The blister's got some pronounced dings on the very top of it there, as you can see. But still, at the time, I didn't have a Tri-Logo Dengar, and I was really wanting one. I really wanted this one. So I grabbed that one. I think I paid about $300 for it, somewhere in that ballpark. And it graded 80, 75, 85 for an overall 75. And I think that's an appropriate grade. That's about right. So now, on eBay, there was, in, I think, Brussels or Germany, I can't remember, there was the Spanish Paleface version, the Spanish PvP Paleface version of Dengar on a Tri-Logo Mint-On card ungraded for like, I think it was about $150, maybe $200 after taxes and shipping from Europe over to me. And it was in great shape. I thought it had a good chance at an overall 80. So I bought that and I sent it into CAS. And I remember when I packed it a little tight. I was like, man, is this too tight? Am I packing it too tight? And sure enough, it did crack, I think, in shipping to CAS. It could have been cracked on the way from Europe, and I just didn't notice it because it was a very faint crack. So it only got a 70 with CAS after grading. So I sold that one off at a loss to a channel subscriber. And so this one popped up on eBay as part of that massive lot that AFA/CIB, they were all high grade across Return of the Jedi, Empire Strikes Back, original Star Wars lines. And this one popped up and it was probably overpriced by about $100. But when am I going to find the Paleface dark purple armor Spanish PvP version of Dengar mint-on card on a Tri-Logo, the exact figure that I was trying to get for my collection? When am I going to see another one of these pop up? And so I decided to make an offer. I think I paid $600 for it, which is, in my opinion, too high. But that's what we do sometimes, right? We overpay sometimes. And that's take my advice when I do my price guides. Don't do what I do what I say. And I just had to have it, And it looks like he's levitating inside the blister there, but I think the weapon is just kind of holding him up there or something, or it could be the backpack. But I would argue that this one might be a little overgraded. The blister certainly structurally is very similar to the one that got a 75 from CAS. And, this blister got a 75. This blister got an 80 from AFA. I would argue that the card is maybe a little better. It's maybe a little better condition. This one's got some wear around the hang tab, which you can see right there, from where it's just kind of scuffed on the hang, when it was hanging in stores. It had some light edge wear to it, here and there. The back, though, if I remember, the back down here had this big kind of stripe that, just scuffing. And on the back here, it's got some chipping. So if you compare it to this one, which is a different card, and I'll get to that in a second. It's a different card back, a different manufacturer. But this one on the back is pretty much perfect. And the card score on this one was an 80. And the card score on this one from AFA was an 80. So this kind of goes back, maybe it's just me, but this goes back to what I've talked about in the past, where I think that Collector Archive Services grades Tri-Logos more harshly than anybody else. I think UKG grades them probably the fairest, but I've got now 2 examples I've picked up this year for Tri-Logos that have been AFA graded, where I think they were pretty fast and loose, or maybe a little looser in grading than even I expected. And I knew that, don't get me wrong, I knew that when I was buying it, that it had these defects. And I wasn't really buying the grade. I didn't really particularly care about the grade, but it was just good enough, right? The 70 I sold off because it had a crack in the blister. And when this one popped up, I was like, you know what? I'm probably overpaying by about $200 on it. It's probably worth $450 or $500 max. I think after taxes and shipping, it was probably closer to 650, 660, somewhere in there for this one. You know, I just, you know, and I also picked up that Tri-Logo Lando Calrissian Bespin that was graded AFA 80 plus, that I would argue was in worse shape than this one. So you know, it's just crazy how they, you know, it all depends on what day and the kind of mood the grader's in. But this one did get the 80 score, and it was 80, 80, 80. So pretty awesome though to get another figure variant for the card. For the Tri-Logo card. Now this is the German Parker card back, as it's labeled right here. So you can see there Tri-Logo 70 back, and then in parentheses it says Parker. And what that's referring to is a German Parker card back. And there's not many differences between the German Parker versus the standard Palitoy Tri-Logo. The most notable difference is in the hanger tab. It's a thinner hanger tab, much skinnier hanger tab. Hopefully that's coming through here. But if you compare that to the standard Palitoy, if I can show it, you can see there, this one is much wider. It's a much wider hang tab versus the German Parker. The other big noticeable difference is on the back of the card. It's a much more vibrant yellow. The standard Palitoys are a little bit more deeper, richer, darker yellow. Whereas the German Parker versions of these Tri-Logos, it's a very bright kind of color difference. I think you can see that in the video here in the camera, but it's a very noticeable difference even in person, much more noticeable even than when I look at it here on the camera. So pretty cool though to get another Dengar. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different Dengars now. I would love to get, for Dengar, I would love to get the 47 back 4-LOM offer, but that one just never shows up at all. Or the 48 back Revenge of the Jedi 48C. That would be another one. So that was one of the awesome pickups from CIB. And then another one is for my Luke Bespins. And so I've got two that I picked. Both of these I picked up from Chris at Rogue 5 Toys. And the first one is the 41 back A survival kit offer. That one is graded 80. And both of these are blonde haired, and both of these are Empire Strikes Back card backs. So very nice unpunched example, graded AFA 80. The sub scores are 80, 85, 75 on this one. I don't know why this one got the 75, but that's what they gave it. And then this is the one I picked up late last year, I believe, as part of that jackpot haul that Chris picked up and sold off. But this one is the 31 back B, Luke Bespin, and this one's an AFA 80, straight 80s for all the sub scores. So both of those were Empire Strikes Back card backs, and both of them are blonde hair. And I decided to grab this one. This one maybe was a slight overpay as well, which most of those items that were listed by CIB were slightly overpriced. Some of them I thought were really good deals, but the two I picked up, of course, were not particularly good deals. But I just decided it was time to grab a brown-haired Luke Bespin mint on card for the collection. So this is a beautiful unpunched example of the 77 back A, and it's clear blister. Clear-ish anyway. It's labeled a clear blister. It looks every bit of a clear blister. We'll see how long that lasts. But this one was graded AFA 80 as well. So this is the 77 back A, Luke Bespin fatigues. It doesn't say brown hair, but obviously it's the brown haired version. And the subscores are 75, 80, 80. And as is common, the torso on this one has yellowed a little bit, or discolored a little bit relative to the arms and legs. That always happens with the brown-haired Luke Bespin. And that's, you know, between that and the weapons that have fallen off the tape, which does affect the figure score, it got the 80. I mean, you could make an argument it's almost a 75 as well. But anyway, it did get the 80, and it's unpunched, light edge wear at the top of the card right there. Hopefully that is coming through, but very light. Back of the card was in really good shape. I didn't see any major issues there. So anyway, I just thought it was an awesome addition to the Luke Bespin run. And look how awesome that looks together to have all three of those, if I can get them in the camera here. So I've got the 77A, the 41A, and then the 31 back B now for Luke Bespin, and I'm just really happy to get both of those mint on cards. So that's 3 mint on cards I've picked up this year. It's not going to be like last year where I get like 18 of them. It's going to be a very meager year for mint on cards, most likely, unless something changes. I'm mainly focused for my big purchases this year on big comic books, just to kind of diversify a little bit. So if I hit 10 for this year, I will be shocked. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this look at some of these variants that I have grabbed over the last 3 months. It's mid-March now, and so all of these have been picked up over these last 2 mint on cards, and then some of those loose graded figures have all been since January. So I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much as always for watching, and I will be back soon.